Welcome back to a special edition of the Vires and Numeris podcast, episode 52 with Justin O'Connell of Gold, Silver, Bitcoin. We wanted to talk a little bit today about the FTX situation. Probably go for around 15 minutes today. Welcome to the show today, sir.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so stoked to be here.
Yeah, so we were just gonna jive a little bit. You and I talk quite a bit, we at least once a week or every couple of weeks we probably have some dialogue back and forth. And there's obviously a lot going on right now, so I wanted to have you on to get your opinion of the whole FTX matter. And let's just start off with like what is your overall thoughts on it and opinion on what's going on, and like you kind of we alluded to before we started here, like who are we being led by in this industry? Like, who are the leaders of crypto?
Well, I think the first thing that strikes me is that it was so clear. And I didn't even know anything about FTX. I didn't follow FTX. Obviously, I understood they were spending a ton of money on marketing, a lot of money on marketing. But I assumed this was just regular old Silicon Valley venture capital largesse on the back of the monetary expansion that we've seen mostly. And then as well, people are basically printing their own tokens. A lot of them have very little utility, if any. A lot of them don't have leaders or executives or whatever they call themselves who necessarily care about the tech, about the community, about creating new types of technologies which can free people. That is go beyond just banking the unbanked. And there could have been a lot of that involved in FTX. I only knew about the story of Sam Bankman-Fried, and something just didn't really sit right with me with him. He was very open to leverage. He believed in silly economic theories that sound complicated, but really I just probably aren't provable in reality. And today he's backing all this up and saying, well, he didn't know the downside risk to his leverage positions in Alameda Research. But the way that he viewed leverage in the past, dating back to Bitcoin 2020, where he and Caitlin Long got into an interesting debate, which I haven't seen resurface yet, about leverage and the dangers of leverage. And Caitlin Long very succinctly described why she felt there was not a large place in Bitcoin, namely for leverage. And he was very open to it. And here we are today. I think that anybody who entrusted their money to him now is a little smarter. However, I think that it was very clear why would one entrust their money to this guy in the first place? Look at him. I mean, he's a slob. He's a vegan because he, quote, believes the animals should live exactly like we live. There's just a lot of red flags there. The virtue signaling, which we now know is virtue signaling, this kind of earn to give philosophy that he was discussing. Business owners earn to give to their employees who are help building the business. That's how that's supposed to work. And so he had all these big philanthropic pursuits. Like he said at one point, he misspeaks a lot.
Right.
He said, we are creating climate change or something like that. And what he meant was that he's helping combat climate change. I wonder if that is with like darkening out the sun with Bill Gates. I wonder if that's the philanthropic project that Sam Bankman-Fried is working on. BG, we'll refer to him as from now on.
The chemtrail death dumps.
So earn to give. This is just kind of like a type of I guess business philosophy that the World Economic Forum is discussing a lot of. I forget exactly how they term it, but it's essentially like philanthropic capitalism or socialistic capitalism. I don't think they use that word exactly.
They might as
Now
well.
that's great. I think that's totally fine. But now we see that was all a virtue signal, that he was using your money for his pursuits. Okay, now then we arrive at the connections to the people who are financing him, all the same Silicon Valley players. And these people, they just have a ton of cash and they're just probably investing in things that they think are being promoted by like the Davos crowd, etc., or in close associates. And perhaps in this world, if Silicon Valley, much like in the Soviet Union of yesterday, blot and connections are really important. And Sam Bankman-Fried appears to, through his parents or otherwise, have had really good connections. And I think that's really the main point here.
I put out a tweet the other day that you liked, I believe, about him being like the quintessential collectivist, communist, whatever you want to call it. Like, could there be any better like spokesperson for collectivism and like what he was trying? Like, it was just all facade, right?
Useless idiot comes to mind.
Yeah. Do you think he was just? Do you think like the entire what? Okay, so let's go back a little bit.
Useful idiot.
You did go back to like 2020 and stuff, and I just feel like the guy kind of like emerged out of nowhere. Do you think the entire thing has been like a few year like operation? I mean, it's not a conspiracy anymore that there's like some sort of like something doesn't exactly add up in this entire thing. And I don't want to get too conspiratorial, but like Fox News is even talking about all the money going back and forth with through FTX Ukraine potentially. What do you think about like was he actually ever like this quant like trader who was able to find these arbitrage situations, or what do you actually believe is the truth? Because can we even believe that at this point? Was that even true, or what? Who was bankrolling the operation
Okay, so I guess I shouldn't
from the
be
onset? From the
I
onset,
shouldn't be diagnosing people from afar,
right?
especially in this environment today. But if I were to create a satirical world which portrayed Sam, it would be of a sociopathic, really smart, like nerdy numbers type guy with emphasis on the sociopathic part. Now, $8 billion is gone. That's not quite Enron, but that is a ton, especially in this industry of crypto. And we have to separate Bitcoin from crypto. These are two different industries. There is an industry there. You can dissect Bitcoin a little bit more from there, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But Bitcoin and crypto are not the same things. And I think that's underscored by the fact that there was no real Bitcoin on the FTX balance sheets, I believe, at least so far. So we've got 8 billion gone. I would portray in a satirical way. SBF is kind of sociopathic first and foremost. And then also kind of sloth-like,
Right.
as well. Immature, inexperienced, and perhaps taken advantage of, perhaps just in over his head. I think there was some sort of a hedge fund player who was reaching out to him in the months ahead of this
Mm-hmm.
with the feeling that SBF was in over his head. So that kind of harkens back to this, right? This writing was on the wall. I think that we do know that he had pledged, I believe, $1 billion to the Democratic Party. Who in their right mind would do that? And then second, I think he had donated 40 million in the midterms to, I think, mostly Democrat candidates, with like 200,000 or something going to Republican candidates. I'm not one to give into the like left-right paradigm, but I think that says a lot about Sam Bankman-Fried, the person. I also think that the way that Tony Blair longingly looks at SBF, and maybe even Bill Clinton too, makes me wonder. His parents obviously are in academia. Academia, I think, is let's face it. Mom's probably not a libertarian, freedom-loving,
Right.
live and let live type person.
I don't get that vibe. I just want to. I was actually reading his Wikipedia the other day, and as of this, whenever this was updated, which it is current, at least as of the bankruptcy, contributions for the year of 2022 through August 15th, 2022, also went to members of both parties. He donated $105,000 to conservatives and $35.872 million to liberals, neoliberals. So I thought that was kind of humorous. So he could say he donated to each party or both parties, but he donated just 35 million. 700,000 or something like that.
Okay, so and then I want to leave it there because that's interesting. Now, who are those Republicans? And I will say, don't vote for them. And
Right.
then second is now he is a fan of the video game League of Legends and allegedly played the game while on a call attempting to secure an investment from Sequoia Capital. Like this strikes me as like myth building,
I
right?
agree
Like
with that.
it
And
strikes me
then,
as PR. And
right.
like the message is that like be a degenerate and raise a lot of money.
No, I honestly, it feels like, it honestly feels a little bit like, I don't know if you ever watched the Silicon Valley show. It honestly, it's like they're trying to just like blow up, make him this bigger than life sort of Silicon Valley sort of, image, even though, he wasn't there, he's in the Bahamas or whatever. But you get the idea of what I'm trying to say. Like they're
There,
building him up to
there,
be more of like a character.
there's 8 billion people on this planet, and
Yeah.
like 7,999,000,000 don't get to go and raise money playing League of Legends.
Right.
They
Right.
don't even get to go and play and raise money.
Right. Yeah,
They
and
just
then
get to play League of Legends. Go
but
ahead.
just even in the New York Times, I don't know if you got to see that today, how they portrayed him, like nothing at all about the political donations. It's just like these puff pieces that it's like what kind of world are we living in? Like you can't trust I've had the New York Times blocked for at least probably 2 or 3 years, but on Twitter. But I still saw people circulating the article, and it's just unbelievable what passes as like mainstream media journalism today, big M journalism or whatever you want to say.
Yeah, who called whom to get that NYT piece published?
Right. Yeah. I mean, well, we know how many, I mean, it's obvious when you mentioned, Bill Clinton, Tony Blair. I mean, the guy had friends in, high or low places, however you want to say it, so it's interesting. But what do you think, how, I understand where you're coming from, and I understand why people are trying to separate Bitcoin and crypto. But I mean, at the end of the day, Bitcoin is a cryptographic asset. So I kind of don't like trying to, but I also do understand what you're saying. Like Bitcoin is trust minimized, and these others, everything else has some sort of central entity. But at the end, there is a difference. I do agree. But where do you think the entire industry, like, as a whole, goes from here? Because Bitcoin is still part of the cryptocurrency, ecosystem overall.
They like gave birth to everything else.
Right.
It's like Bitcoin is Jesus and all the other cryptos are like the flock in a way. So in all seriousness though, that was blasphemy and I'm sorry, but it was just a joke. I think that Bitcoin has its own trajectory from the rest of crypto. And that's pretty much as far as I'll go. It's not that one's better than the other, although
Okay.
I think one is arguably a little more secure for most of the people who are
Oh, I'm
out
not
there.
debating that. Yeah, I agree with you there.
So, but regardless, the reason why I would kind of split them up is simply because I view them as on two different trajectories. Bitcoin's being adopted by nation states. I think perhaps on the suggestion of Max Kaiser or Stacey Herbert, they might be more behind that than we think. And it's also, it's also not discussed in the regulatory context in the same way as crypto is, with tokens in general, including Ethereum, at risk of being classified as securities, where Bitcoin is not really mentioned so much in that discussion. So it's really not a kind of value or subjective take, I think, on which is better by any means, but it's just I do see them on two different trajectories. Why would you not why do you disagree with that?
Which part? Which part are you saying specifically? I know I do agree there. I do agree that Bitcoin's much more secure, and is proven, is tested, has less counterparty risk. Pretty much everything. I agree with almost everything you said. I don't see the trajectories as that much different, though. I do believe there will be 20 projects or whatever it is in the end that emerge as like these safe companies that we can, we at least use, whether we trust them or not. Well, they'll be like the Googles and everything else that will emerge in the crypto industry, Amazons, everything like that.
Which projects?
I think we have to wait and see, but I think there's a lot of like positive stuff happening around, like, what would I say right now? I mean, I like different ecosystems right now. So it's still too hard to tell which one's going to be the winner. I don't think Ethereum's going to end up winning. I just don't. So I think we'll probably see something. I'm investing in Cosmos, Near Protocol, different layer ones that I think have a really good opportunity of being the next big one, or maybe the ultimate winner. I think what Near's trying to accomplish is pretty cool. But I just wanted to say, you mentioned Max Kaiser. And let's just say we'll wrap up this little short episode here after we talk about this. I know you like Max. I think Max has definitely been he's definitely done a lot of good things in the crypto industry and Bitcoin. He probably wouldn't like me saying crypto. He was definitely like one of the at the forefront of. He was one of the first people I ever remember talking about Bitcoin. I think there's I think it was 2011. He did a speech in London that I liked, and this is like I was like one of the first. We're one of the first people back then in crypto, in Bitcoin, and he was like really adamant or a proponent of it. So I respect what he did, but I don't know, man. I wonder about like his call of what he said it was going to this year. Like after the top was in, he was still telling people we were going to a new all-time high and stuff. I don't really agree with that, and I don't agree with Saylor telling people to mortgage their homes. Like it's 65 or 60K or whatever it was. So I don't. There's at some level, Bitcoin and crypto can't be separated because we have sort of these same kind of leaders. Even though I do appreciate what Max has done, like I think did he really believe Bitcoin was going to go after it made a double top on the charts? Like he's a smart guy, I think. Did he really think it was going to go to over $200,000 this year? Or is he just like, what's he doing there? I don't know.
I wonder if he still believes it might go to $200,000.
Well, he doesn't have much time, man. What's he have, 45 days? Something like that? Yeah, so
So
maybe
I guess
it's
we'd have to
still
ask
good.
him.
Yeah,
We'd have to ask him. I think he did. I mean, in sitting in 2020 during the lockdown, I mean, I thought everything was gonna like come apart of the seams. I guess it kind of is, but with that much money being pushed into the system,
right.
I mean, but of course we're gonna have this like collapse here as we go into a steep recession. How does Bitcoin fare in a recession? That we have yet to see.
Bitcoin. Right, right. Well, nobody knew what was going to happen. I was looking for the I can't. He goes on that show with the one Italian girl. What's her name? I can't remember her name. Um,
Daniela,
yeah,
Dan,
Daniela. What show is that?
she used to be Kitco, but now I think she's independent, or maybe she's actually on
She's with
what is
that
it?
Porter Stansberry guy, but I can't remember the name of the show right now. Anyways, that's what one of the ones I saw him on in the beginning. It was clearly a double top. I was just curious, like, what do you do these? I mean, doesn't Michael Saylor and don't these other guys that like they got they can't just say Bitcoin's going up forever. I mean, they understand how markets work, or is this just like part of their maxi pitch? Because I just hate maximalism, and I think it's like disingenuous to be like it only goes up. You know what I mean? In the big picture, yes, that's true, but like telling people to mortgage their homes, like maybe these guys are like barely getting by, and you're telling them to like mortgage their house to the hilt or whatever, and it just seems like a disastrous.
So these, I think they believe perhaps what the Winklevi believe, who are two cool looking guys, by the way. I like them. Why aren't they like paraded in front of us all the time? I want to hear more about what they have to say in a
Yeah, they're
long
like the
form
smartest
context.
ones. Yeah.
And they think Bitcoin's going to at least $500,000, if not $1 million per Bitcoin. So that is what I think Max Kaiser um, and Sailor, who I don't know, and I've emailed with Max. Max has always been very kind to me, going back at more than a decade now, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, I wouldn't call ourselves friends. He knows of me, and he responds to my emails. Very kind of him. Um, Sailor, I would put him in a different category. I don't really. I mean, it seems like he's calling for regulation. I'd be curious to see what types of regulation he is pushing forward. Why? Whereas it seems Max is like just perhaps advising on Bitcoin becoming legal tender in El Salvador,
Hmm.
which I mean is not quite radical. It's not really that radical of a take. Buying Bitcoin, perhaps one could say that is quite extreme. Um, Although every day I think to a lesser degree that case can be made. It would be nice to see perhaps countries balancing out their portfolios with gold, as much gold as possible. I would be proposing a gold and Bitcoin strategy
Hmm.
for the at the nation state level, but Kaiser isn't in the kind of in the sandbox there, like pushing toward for regulation. I think that we saw regulation with the collapse of FTX. That's what I call regulation.
Right. The market.
The market did it for it on its own.
Right.
At the
That's the
consultation,
beautiful thing about crypto is these cycles have it's like it's like the truest form of capitalism ever. It's like it's exactly what you said. It's our own regulation. It's our own siphoning of the bad actors away. They're gonna get washed away. They always do. And we start anew, or we build on what the real core is, and then the trash gets washed away. But I was just curious what you're. Yeah, I think Max is a lot more genuine than Sailor. To be honest with you, I think Sailor came in way late to the game, and he's kind of like taken on this super whatever role because he's got a lot of money. But I don't think anybody would really be listening to anything he said if he didn't have all that money. Just my opinion.
and a lot of people these days, I'm not sure Taylor was grew up in a different time than I did. I know my time. I don't know Sailor's time when he was raising all that money, but anyone can raise money today. Apparently, Sam Bankman-Fried can
Right.
raise money today. And on the note of the market regulating itself and taking care of this, look at how like savage the market took care of this problem. I know there was a lot of pain, but so many people learned big lessons, and they were told along the way not to take exorbitant risk by putting their crypto into exchanges, let alone like one exchange. And so people who are just completely wiped at this point, to, I've learned really hard lessons before,
Right.
that
A
involve
lot.
money, not in this context, but just like in business, doing business, right? Starting businesses, failing at business, and then rebuilding the business. It's like a common story. That's pretty brutal process. Who's going to do business again with Sam Bankman-Fried other than Tony Blair and Bill Clinton? And we have the market to thank for that. So thank you, market.
Hey, this is a good way to end this. I just want to say one last thing. That's why I was like, I enjoyed Saylor's speech at the Ayn Rand thing. It was a pretty good speech. I don't know if you got to see that, but then he'll put something out like that, which I kind of like. I really enjoyed. Like I thought this was like such a good speech. And then the next day, or not the next day literally, but a few weeks later, whatever it is, a month later, this FTX thing happens, and he's just like trying to seize this moment for more government. And I'm like, dude, do you really get the ethos at all of this entire thing? Or do you really get it? Or are you just here to pump your bags? Like to me, it just seems like he's here as like an opportunist that sees this chance to like get even richer. That's the way wealthy or whatever, the way I look at it.
I think that's a good way to look at everyone.
Interesting.
When they're just an avatar on a Twitter profile.
Yeah.
Yeah, so cryptos that this we should probably end it here because I'm gonna get myself in trouble. But Brave comes to mind. That's something that might be interesting. Um, Dogecoin just on the back of Elon and meme culture,
Right.
might be something.
I can't buy it out of my own self. I just can't buy Doge, but I agree with you. What else were you gonna say?
Oh, but there's like thousands of cryptos, so
Right.
a
All right,
lot of them.
let's wrap this one up. We're gonna record a little bit for gold, silver, Bitcoin now. I appreciate you coming on, sir.
Thank you so much. Let's do it again sometime soon.
Yeah, it's always great to hear your take. You always have good takes and well thought out, logical guy. So I appreciate you always coming on.
Likewise.